Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. So one of the biggest reasons as to why we raise so many animals on our homestead isn't just for the products that the animals create that we can then eat or sell. One of the biggest reasons that we have so many animals is actually for the crappy part. So we actually do all of our gardening completely organically, very all natural, basically the way that our ancestors would have gardened. That's how we prefer to garden. We also try not to buy any amendments or inputs or things of that nature. If we can't make it here, we usually just do without. That is one way as to how we keep our gardens so cheap and stuff, so that way we can basically raise produce for free without having any cost or any inputs that have to then be added in and costing us a lot of money. It keeps the costs down, but also is really good for the environment. So this weekend, we actually finished cleaning out the barn again. So we raise goats, chickens, turkeys, geese, ducks, quail, and rabbits. We also have cats and dogs too, but that's a completely different story. So all of those animals, one of the greatest things that they provide for us, besides, elk, eggs, and milk, is actually their manure. We do raise some of the animals for meat here, but even if you are somebody that is a vegetarian or a vegan, it is still very, very, very beneficial to raise animals on your homestead. So one of the things that they provide the most in excess of is actually manure. So with the goats manure is just like rabbit manure, and it is a cold manure, whereas the chickens, it does, and the ducks and the geese and stuff, that does have to age for a little while. So that is a little bit different, a little bit more complex than the goat and the rabbit manure. But so this weekend we actually cleaned out the barn, did a really deep clean, because even though it is February, and it is, a cold month in Ohio and stuff, it is definitely overdue to be done, and it is kind of like a false spring right now. So all the trees are starting to wake up, a lot of the grass is waking up, and things are just waking up, and they're ahead of schedule. So we figured we should probably get this thing going. But so we actually cleaned out the barn and put all of the manure on the garden beds. So we don't have raised beds per se, but we did, when we plotted out this garden on this new homestead, we designed it so that way in the future we could eventually add in raised beds. So our gardens are kind of set up as if they are raised beds, but it's a little different. So it's kind of hard to see on camera here, but there is a bed right in here that is completely covered in hay and manure. Maybe if I come over this way, you guys can see it a little bit better. So this here is actually the walkway here, and then over here is a bed, and over here is a bed. So we actually deep covered the beds with a massive amount of hay that was, spent hay, which basically means that the animals had their way with it. They ate what they wanted from it and then played in the rest, if you catch my drift. So there was a bunch of spent hay that has then been piled on top of the soil it was tilled back in the spring of last year, and we did grow stuff in here and that sort of a thing. So it did produce some produce for us, but this homestead has a lot of clay, and this is pretty much the best thing that we can do to try to boost the quality of the soil while also making use of the resources that we have. And apparently 2 of our turkeys seen that the garden gate was open, and they are taking their chance to get their 5 minutes of fame. But so our turkeys, they do a great job of free ranging to collect unwanted pests like ticks and slugs and things of that nature. So they're good guys. But so one of the things that we love to do is actually utilize a lot of permaculture designs and elements and things of that nature. We don't necessarily have a food forest yet, but it will in the future. We will end up having one, but it's just, when you're just getting started on a new homestead, it takes time to develop different systems. But one of the things that we absolutely love to do is to follow basically like a deep mulching system in the gardens, because it does create a really nice ecosystem for the worms and the little critters and things of that nature. Like, my brain is totally, because the boys are right behind me, they're distracting me. So sorry. But the microorganisms and stuff that are underneath the soil, it actually benefits them tremendously. That was the word I was looking for. So it does help a lot with that. It boosts the worm population, and then it also will break down and compost, and all of the manure will add a lot of nitrogen to the soil, and then the hay will serve as a nice mulch, helping to retain a lot of moisture and protect the ground from the rays of the sun and that sort of a thing. But so one of the things that are really nice about utilizing this method is it actually will help the soil heat up faster once it becomes spring planting time, because essentially we'll just scrape away and pull out just a little hole and then dig down into there to transplant little seedlings in. So then that way it can really thoroughly grow. One of the greatest things about having animals is it creates such a nice closed loop system of that they eat the excess products from the garden, and then they give us excess products from them to then put back on the garden to create a really nice living system of creating beautiful soil and just basically continuing the cycle without having to add any major like inputs and that sort of a thing. So definitely is nice. And I know there's a lot of hubbub recently that's been saying about how gardens and things of that nature are actually very bad for the environment. But guys, if you do it in a very smart way, like if you look back to ways of how our ancestors gardened, it doesn't harm anything. So our hay is actually locally sourced from someone that lives like 3 miles from our house. That we go and we pick up the hay once it's all done and everything, bring it back here, and then our animals can eat it without having to, it's not anything it's not like it's coming from a big box store or anything of the sort that's being shipped for hundreds or even thousands of miles. It's all, everything that we do is local. So that is one way to definitely reduce your footprint if that's something that you're concerned with. Bless these guys. Look how handsome they are. They're such good boys. We raise midget white turkeys, so they're full-grown toms, and they are very, very friendly, very docile breed. But yeah, so that is my gardening tip for right now, basically what we do and how we keep the costs low. So if you guys are enjoying this content, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends on social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to help us grow. We'd greatly appreciate it. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.